Thank you. Good, good morning, everyone. I am truly delighted and humbled to be here, and thank you, Andrew, for inviting me. For the next 15 minutes, I will talk about the project that Andrew described in terms of what we did with Architecture for Humanity. But let me begin from the beginning. As Andrew was saying, last year I was here as part of the African Fellows that were sponsored by Sun Microsystems and the United Nations to come to this conference. And I was one of 12 that came. 1 or 2 days prior to this particular Sunday event, I happened to listen to a presentation that was done by that particular gentleman at the top, and I'm sure many of you recognize him. He's Cameron St. Clair of Architecture for Humanity. And during his presentation, I was interested to know more about what he does and how it can apply in our African context. Architecture for Humanity is an organization that promotes architectural design solutions to social, global, and humanitarian crises. And so, before I continue, let me take you to where I come from, Tanzania. Now, Dar es Salaam is the former capital, and the project that we're working on is in Ipuli. And it's about a 9-hour drive. The difference between the two, you can see visually in the next slides. This is Dar es Salaam, the downtown area. Most of the businesses are located here. Some of the government offices are also located here and also in the city of Dodoma. And this is really where the heart is in terms of business and economics in Tanzania. Now, if you are adventurous enough to go to Ipuli from Dar es Salaam, this is the kinds of scenes that you will see. In this particular case, we were taking a bus to Dodoma. And when you arrive in Dodoma, you then hop onto this train, and it will take you to Singida. And Singida is the district that Ipuli is located in. So this is Singida region. You can see it's very different from Dar es Salaam. Most of the buildings are residential, tin roofs, the walls are cement blocks, the roads aren't paved, but this is Singida. And if you continue further, you will get into Ipuli village. And these are very typical houses in Ipuli. This particular shot, if you happen to notice, the gentleman in the on the bottom left-hand side, his name is Nicholas. And Nicholas is part of an architectural team that is working in France, along with a colleague of his. And he somehow ended up being a part of this PopTech web. And so there he is, Nicholas Gilliland, and his colleague is Gaston Tolila. Gaston is from France, and Nicholas is an American. Now, how they are connected to this project is that Cameron then communicated with Nicholas and told them about an idea for a medical center and a training center in Ipuli. And they liked the idea, and so they decided that they will provide their services pro bono for free. So Nicholas contacted me, and he said, we're very interested. When can we go to Tanzania? During that time, I happened to be in New York, and I talked to some individuals who were also interested in the project, and so they provided some financial assistance. So that got the ball rolling. After a few days, this was a very rudimentary sketch for the medical center. And so we thought that, okay, there'll be, of course, an entryway, a laboratory and pharmacy services, a place for general care, an area for mother and child health care services, and also tacked onto that would be a maternity ward. There would be a staff dormitory for physicians and others, and also a garage that we would put an ambulance. So this was sent to them, and this is what they sent back to us. And this is what we're working on. This is the Mother-Child Medical Center. And of course, this is now the waiting area. The right-hand side is the area for the women and children's health services. And on the left-hand side will be a general health area. And this is a depiction of how the training center was to look like. And so it would have some basic offices, some classrooms, some lab offices. And again, we sent that off to Nicholas and Gaston. And this is the Ipuli Medical Training Center that we hope to be completed by January of '07. So you ask yourselves, why a medical center, why a training facility? Well, for starters, in Ipuli, you have roughly 100,000 residents, and of whom 15,000 are children under the age of 5. And there are no health facilities in the area, or I should say, no accessible health facilities in the area. The nearest hospital is called Haidum Hospital, and it's about 80 kilometers away. And the nearest medical center is in Nkungi. And to go from Ipuli to Nkungi, you actually physically have to cross over a river. And so when it floods, it becomes very dangerous. And so this is the rationale for why we decided to build a medical center. Sadly enough, people, in order to get to these two centers, are using wheelbarrows and bicycles and other forms of transport. So it becomes very dangerous, especially for pregnant women who are having complications, or children who are very sick. And so often, not many of them survive the long trek. And so this is really the rationale for the medical center. And for the training center, what we were thinking was that in order to provide a constant stream of health professionals for the medical center, we would need a place that would educate and train people in specialties such as nursing, such as lab technology, such as pharmacy. But the main concentration would be on community health. So we would get locals, women, men, young people, and train them in terms of basic community healthcare services. And so they will be able to then help us to focus attention on preventative care. This is another view of the training center. Also concentrate on the angles of the roofs because we'll be using that as a means to collect rainwater. This is a depiction from the inside. These, on the far right-hand side, we envision there will be laboratory services. On the left-hand side, there will be some classrooms. I think the next slide has a better depiction. Right, so on the bottom side, you'd have some laboratories. On the right and left-hand side, there'll be some classrooms and some administrative offices, and also on the very top. This is another view of the training center. And on the far right-hand side, that blue object is actually a water tank. So we want to then capture enough water, and we're planning for roughly 20,000 liters of water that will be saved and used for the training center. And this is just another depiction of that facility. Now let me take us back a little bit and talk about the healthcare system in Tanzania. The best description for the healthcare service would be that of a referral system. So you have thousands of health posts, then you have dispensaries, local health centers, district hospitals, regional hospitals, and about 3 or 4 referral hospitals in the country. And so this is a picture of, well, the previous one is a picture of a typical village health post. And this is the Bunda District Hospital. And this is a hospital in Nyangao, which is a regional hospital. And this is Muhimbili National Hospital. I used to do an internship in this particular hospital. It is very large. It's based in Dar es Salaam. And in order to be able to see a doctor in this facility, you had to, of course, have a referral notice from a previous doctor from one of the other health centers. And so it's very large. It has about 2,300 employees and about 300 doctors and 500 registered nurses. So let me take us back to Ipuli. Now, these are pictures of before the project actually began. And this is afterwards with the foundation for the training center. Again, other pictures of the training center and the neighboring piece of land. And there are thousands of bricks that have been made, and this is the start for their laying on the foundation. Now, this picture is quite interesting because this is a common phenomenon at the site. You see a number of people who come to view what is happening, and so it was from the very beginning, we agreed that nothing would happen in this project without the permission, without the agreement of the community. And so they are not just participants who come to look at what is happening, but they take active roles in deciding what happens. And this is another picture of some of the initial work that was going on. And so you see here the people are now starting to do the work. And the next picture actually shows some of the village leaders who are part of this management team in the construction for these facilities. And these are also some of the village leaders. And so I have included the Ipuli community as part of this intricate partnerships that are forming this web in order to complete this project. An interesting thing also that the community did in the very beginning was that they were so interested in this project that they donated 10 acres of land. And this is how the land looks like for the medical center. And this is how it looks like for the training center. This is another 10-acre piece of land that they helped to facilitate for us to acquire. So we have 20 acres of land to do this project. In addition to our emphasis on community partnerships, there are a number of small workshops that do metal work and also some woodwork. And so we're working with them to provide a number of products that would be used for this project. And so on the far right-hand side, you see some of the windows that are being done. On the bottom left-hand side are some of the louvers, or some of the grills, rather, that are being constructed for this purpose. And another reason why we wanted to work with these particular individuals is that as part of the 10-acre land for the training center, we will dedicate quite a bit of space for additional workshops to be built. And so in that way, you get a lot more people to be involved and in gaining a skill in terms of woodworking and metal work, and especially for some of the young people in the area. This will provide them additional skills and a means to gain some income for themselves and for their families. And so in addition to the team that is forming is two organizations called Haley and Aldrich and Tamarac Energy. Haley and Aldrich is based in Boston. And they are an organization that specializes in environmental and engineering consulting. And in addition, Tamarac Energy works in developing, advising, and investing in cost-effective, sustainable energy solutions. And they also have an office in Boston. And how they came into this loop is that PopTech, but particularly Andrew, spoke to them, and he told them about this project in Tanzania. And so they have to date decided to provide some funding and also some technical assistance. In particularly, they are providing the means for us to have power and water. So we have decided to use a hybrid system for the power, using wind energy, using solar energy, and also generators. And for the water, we'll be using a system that uses pumps that will store water in these 10,000 liter tanks, and so there'll be 2 of them. So this is just a picture in terms of what some of the products that we'll be using. Additional people and organizations have joined in this intricate web of partners, including some media and journalists who have been in touch with us to get to know more about what is happening in Ipuli. And actually, the National Geographic will be going to Dar es Salaam in probably December or January, to do a documentary about this project. In addition, we have Cooper Hewitt Design Museum, and they will be doing a viewing of the architectural designs and the models. They're based in New York, and this viewing will happen in December. Now, these are individuals and organizations that we've been working with in the past year. So looking in the future, we have the Millennium Community Foundation. Now, the Millennium Community Foundation has just started, and the focus is on furthering innovative health and education solutions in rural areas, and in particularly in developing community foundations. And the goal really is to have communities that have or can manage the funds, that manage the process in terms of how projects are developed, how they're implemented, and how they're evaluated. Also, we'll be doing a lot of work to promote social and economic partnerships between various entities and the local community, so as to contribute to long-term and sustainable development. And so looking next year and the year after that, we'll have the Ipuli Center in Tanzania and finish that. The plans are also set to do some work in South Africa, the DRC, Rwanda, and Ghana. And I have a background and an interest in health informatics, and so the vision or the goal is to have each of these facilities then joined electronically so as to share health information. So in years to come, we hope that we'll be able to replicate this project in other countries, especially in the rural parts. And so this is the family. This is how things have come together. And so if you are interested to either work with us or to learn more about how this was done, I encourage you to contact me. Thank you very much.